This Harvard professor is tired of negative news.
Good things aren't built in a day. Bad things can happen very quickly. There's an epidemic, there's a terrorist attack, a building collapses, a war breaks out. If you only cover events as opposed to trends, you're automatically biased toward the negative.
He thinks that when the media focuses too much on tragedies, accidents, and political discord, it can dim our perception of reality.
How does negative news impact the viewers?
Well, negative news can have a lot of negative effects. Fatalism. The world's getting worse and worse and worse. Why even bother trying to make the world a better place? Cynicism about our institutions, about democracy, about international organizations. If you think that all of our institutions are just corrupt and failing, then you'll be receptive to radicals who say, just put a wrecking ball to all of our institutions because anything that rises out of the rubble is bound to be better than what we have. That could be really dangerous.
Professor Pinker believes that the world is actually becoming a safer, better place to live, and he has the data to prove it.
Homicide rates in the United States have gone down by more than half since the 1990s. Extreme poverty. The rate of extreme poverty has gone down by 75% just in the last 30 years. Rates of death in war have come down. We don't realize that, but there are horrible wars going on now in Syria, in Yemen. But there were much worse wars going on in the past, and the graph of death in war goes down. Illiteracy. For most of human history, only a privileged elite could read and write. Now, about 90% of the world under the age of 25 has some basic literacy. So graph after graph after graph shows that the world is getting better, and that's something that is completely invisible if you're a consumer of the news.
There's some concern in the United States that racism is on the rise.
Yeah, totally wrong. We're fooled by these neo-Nazi rallies and the hate memes into thinking that racism has gone up. But how many people will agree to statements like, if a black family moved in next door, I would move out? Or black and white kids should go to separate schools? How many people agree to that? It's going down, down, down. How often do people search for racist jokes on that has gone down, down, down? The amount of unconscious bias has gone down over the years.
So America is less racist now?
Oh, much less racist, absolutely less racist. That doesn't mean that there's no racism. There's still a lot of racism, but in the past, there was even more.
At ABC Localish, we're trying to find the good happening in cities across America. How should news get better at telling the positive?
I think that more and more of the state of the world should be reported the way we report the weather and finances and sports, namely with data, not just with stories. Think about the way we report sports. We don't just report when the local team loses or when the star is injured. You open the sports pages and you see what the standings are. Likewise, the business pages. We look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, all the other indicators, day after day, regardless of which way the indicators are going. Even the weather. We don't just read about the weather when there's a hurricane. Every day we check the weather, because it's only with data that you get an accurate picture of the world. Without data, you have no idea what's going on. Try to resist the temptation to fall into tribes, political tribes, or political teams. If you think that everyone on the left has a halo, everyone on the right has horns, or vice versa, then you're guaranteed to end up with bad policies, bad solutions. Do you really know what's going to move 350 million people in the right direction? I don't. We've got to have a mindset more like an ideal scientist, in the sense of having an open-minded willingness to look at facts.
So the other side isn't necessarily always the bad guy?
Not necessarily. That's right.
In what ways do you think the notion that we have more in common manifests itself in some of your ideas?
As people tend to mix, as you don't tend to just grow up with people of the same religion, same ethnic group, same race, that kind of pushes you to look to what you have in common as humans. Now, of course, when you have groups of people from different ethnic groups, they can get on each other's nerves, but eventually, as everyone becomes American, those differences tend to fall away. We can tend to forget that even back in the revolutionary times, there was a problem of how you get these 13 colonies to all agree on anything. And that's a general lesson. When people from different backgrounds have to come together to solve a common problem, to work on a common project, they have to leave behind what makes them different. And what's the common denominator? Well, we're all human. We all want our kids to be healthy. We all want them to get an education. We all want them not to be on drugs. It's our common humanity. And when people rub shoulders and they solve common problems, it pushes them in this direction that I call humanism. That is, the ultimate good is how well off are human beings.